Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Easy English Spark channel. I'm thrilled to have you here today. Get ready to dive into some exciting and valuable tips to help you enhance your English listening and speaking skills, build your confidence, and make progress towards speaking more fluently than ever before. In today's video, we'll walk through some practical steps from setting a strong foundation to embracing mistakes and tracking your progress. Let's light up your English learning journey and keep moving forward together. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Selina's English Speaking Struggles. Let me tell you the story of Selina, a determined young woman who, like many learners, struggled with speaking English. Her journey was filled with self-doubt, frustration, and a burning desire to overcome her challenges. At first, Selina's biggest obstacle was the intense nervousness she felt every time she had to speak in English. It didn't matter if she was in a small group with her friends or speaking to a teacher, her heart would race, her hands would sweat, and the words just wouldn't come out. No matter how much she knew the vocabulary or grammar, the fear of making a mistake overshadowed everything. Have you ever felt like this? Standing there trying to get the words out, but something inside you is holding you back? Well, that was Selina. And it wasn't just in English. It was in every language she ever learned. She would think to herself, what if I say something wrong? What if they laugh at me? It's that kind of fear that makes you want to stay quiet and not speak up at all. But it wasn't only the fear of making mistakes that got to her. It was also the embarrassment she felt when trying to pronounce words correctly. You know how when you're trying to pronounce a new word, and it just doesn't sound like how you've heard it from others? That was another source of stress for Selina. She could see how people in class would speak fluently, while she felt like every word she spoke came out with an accent or mispronunciation. And then there was the shame that came with not sounding perfect in conversations. While her classmates spoke confidently, Selina felt like every time she opened her mouth, her English wasn't good enough. She didn't want to be judged, and she didn't want others to see her struggling. It felt like an invisible wall stood between her and fluency. For Selina, this feeling was constant. Whenever she had the opportunity to speak, she'd freeze up. She would start doubting her abilities. Am I ever going to speak English like a native speaker? Will I always struggle this much? These were the kinds of questions that ran through her mind. It wasn't just about language anymore. It felt like a test of her self-worth. But despite the doubts, Selina knew she couldn't just give up. Deep down, she knew that everyone, even the most fluent speakers, had been through something similar. But still she wondered, how can I stop feeling nervous or shy when I speak English? How can I sound more confident? What if I could actually improve my pronunciation to sound clearer and more sure of myself? These questions were constantly on her mind, and little by little she decided she was going to do something about it. She had to push through that wall. She didn't want to keep hiding behind her fears and insecurities. She knew that to truly improve, she needed to face those struggles head-on. The only way to make progress was by speaking, even if it was scary, even if it was uncomfortable. It would take time, but she had to start somewhere. So she began by identifying the main things that were holding her back. It was the fear of making mistakes, the worry about how she sounded, the belief that others were judging her every word. These were the struggles that kept her stuck in the cycle of self-doubt. And for Selina, this cycle wasn't just affecting her English, it was affecting her confidence in general. She realized that this wasn't just about learning a language, it was about learning how to silence the negative thoughts in her mind. Over time, Selina began to understand that to become a confident English speaker, she first had to change how she viewed herself. She had to believe that her voice mattered and that mistakes weren't something to be ashamed of. This realization, though, didn't come overnight. It was a process, a journey, and it began with acknowledging the struggles she had with speaking English and then committing herself to overcoming them. With every small victory, Selina grew a little more confident. Her English improved little by little, and she started noticing something amazing. She wasn't afraid of speaking anymore. Sure, there were still moments of doubt, but they no longer controlled her. In the end, Selina's struggles became the very thing that pushed her to succeed. Those early challenges were stepping stones that led to better skills and, most importantly, a stronger belief in herself. She began to see that every mistake, every stumble, was simply part of the process. And the more she spoke, the less she feared making errors. And so, in this chapter of her life, Selina learned that the key to overcoming her English speaking struggles wasn't just about learning grammar or vocabulary. It was about facing her fears and pushing forward no matter what. Confidence didn't just come from knowing the right words. It came from practicing and embracing the journey, no matter how difficult it seemed. This is chapter 1 of Selina's story, a journey of overcoming English-speaking struggles. As you listen, remember, if you're like Selina and feel nervous or shy about speaking English, you're not alone. We've all been there. The next chapter will show you how to build the confidence you need to start speaking without fear. Chapter 2. The importance of confidence in speaking. Let's talk about something essential for your English learning journey: confidence. You might have heard people say, confidence is key when it comes to speaking English. But have you ever stopped to really think about what that means? In this chapter, I'll explain why confidence plays such a crucial role in improving your speaking skills and how it can truly transform the way you communicate in English. First, let's start with this simple truth: confidence makes everything easier. Imagine you're about to speak to someone in English. If you feel nervous or unsure, your words might get stuck, your voice may waver, and you may start to second-guess everything you say. But if you're confident, even if you make a mistake, you're more likely to keep going. You don't freeze. You don't back out of the conversation. You speak with clarity and with the belief that what you're saying matters. This is the power of confidence in English speaking. It isn't about knowing everything perfectly. It's about having the belief that you can communicate effectively, regardless of whether you make a few errors. And that, my friend, is the first step toward fluency. When you speak confidently, you communicate more clearly. Why? Because you don't hesitate. You don't get caught up in doubts or worrying about how others will judge you. When you stop worrying about perfection, your thoughts flow more smoothly, and you can express yourself with ease. This allows the listener to understand you better. It's not about saying everything perfectly. It's about conveying your ideas clearly and with conviction. Confidence allows you to do just that. Now think about how it feels when you're confident in any situation. You walk taller, your body language opens up, and you radiate self-assurance. The same thing happens when you speak English confidently. Your body language and facial expressions improve. You're more engaging and dynamic in your communication. It's not just the words that matter. It's how you carry yourself. When you speak confidently, you send a message not just with your words, but with your presence. And people are drawn to that. You make a stronger connection with others because they see that you believe in yourself. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Confidence builds trust. Think about this for a second. Would you trust someone who seems unsure of themselves? Would you want to listen to someone who appears nervous and hesitant? Probably not. But when you speak with confidence, others perceive you as more competent and reliable. They are more likely to trust you, to pay attention to what you're saying, and to engage in a conversation with you. This applies to every aspect of life, not just in English-speaking situations. Whether you're at work, in school, or in social settings, confidence can make a world of difference in how people interact with you. But what happens when you lack confidence? It's a bit like putting up a wall between yourself and others. You might find it harder to engage in conversations, and that hesitation can lead to missed opportunities. People may not respond to you the way you want them to, simply because your lack of confidence gives off a vibe that says, "I'm not sure I know what I'm talking about." It's a self-perpetuating cycle. The less confident you feel, the harder it becomes to communicate effectively, and the more you may start doubting yourself even more. On the other hand, confidence is liberating. It frees you from the constant fear of making mistakes or being judged. When you feel confident, you start to see mistakes as opportunities for learning rather than signs of failure. You understand that speaking a language is a journey and errors are part of that process. Confidence allows you to take risks in conversation, experiment with new words and phrases, and test out different ways of expressing yourself. Without this confidence, you might hold yourself back, never fully participating in conversations or practicing enough to improve. Think about it. Every fluent English speaker has gone through the same struggles you are facing. They've all made mistakes. They've all stumbled through sentences. But what sets them apart is that they didn't let fear or doubt stop them. They continued to speak, continued to practice, and continued to improve. It's the confidence to keep going that makes all the difference in becoming fluent. Let's talk about how confidence influences your personal growth. When you believe in your ability to communicate in English, it doesn't just impact your speaking skills, it impacts your entire mindset. You stop thinking about how hard it is to learn English and start focusing on how exciting it is to connect with others, to learn, and to grow. You begin to view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than obstacles. Confidence also boosts your motivation. When you feel good about your progress, you're more likely to keep learning and practicing. On the other hand, when you lack confidence, the process can feel discouraging. You might wonder, why bother? But with confidence, even small victories, like using a new word correctly in a sentence, become a reason to celebrate. These small wins fuel your desire to keep pushing forward. By now you might be thinking, "That sounds great, but how do I build confidence when I'm still struggling with speaking English?" Well, here's the secret. Confidence is not something you're born with. It's something you can build. The more you practice, the more you expose yourself to English-speaking environments, the more confident you will become. It's a gradual process, but it's possible. And the key is consistency. The more you speak, the more you practice, the more you'll believe in yourself. You don't need to be perfect to be confident. You just need to believe that you can improve, that you can get better with each practice session. Confidence comes from experience, from putting yourself out there, from trying even when it feels uncomfortable. So, in this chapter, we've seen how confidence is not just a nice-to-have trait. It's an essential part of speaking English successfully. It allows you to communicate more clearly, connect better with others, and build trust. It opens up doors and creates opportunities, not just in language learning, but in all areas of life. And remember, confidence doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, patience, and persistence. But with time, you'll start to notice something incredible. The more confident you become, the easier it will be to speak English, the more comfortable you'll feel in conversations, and the more fluent you'll become. This is Chapter 2 of Selina's journey. In the next chapter, we'll dive into how to build that solid foundation in English that will help you speak confidently every time. Stay tuned, because the journey is just beginning. Chapter 3: Strengthening Your English Foundation. Welcome to Chapter 3 of our journey. Now that we've talked about the importance of confidence in speaking, it's time to take a closer look at what truly helps you build that confidence. Your foundation in English. This is where it all begins. The basics. Without a solid foundation, it's difficult to improve, and you'll always feel like something is missing in your speaking skills. But with a strong base, everything else becomes much easier. So, let's dive into how you can strengthen your English foundation to build a solid path toward fluent and confident speaking. Why a strong foundation matters. Think of learning English like building a house. You wouldn't want to build a house on shaky ground, right? The same applies to your English skills. If you don't have a strong foundation in grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation, everything you try to build on top of it will be unstable. You'll always feel like you're struggling to hold everything together. But when you've got the right tools in place, you can keep growing and building without constantly feeling like you're going to fall apart. A strong foundation means you can express your ideas clearly, understand others better, and speak more naturally without second-guessing yourself. It's what makes your English sound smoother and more confident. It gives you the security to go out into the world and speak without hesitation, knowing you've mastered the basics that will support you in more complex situations. So how can you strengthen your English foundation? Let's break it down into 3 key areas: grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Strengthening grammar. The structure of your English house. The first pillar of your foundation is grammar. Think of grammar as the structure of your English house. Without good grammar, your sentences won't make sense. and your message might get lost in translation. Grammar is what allows you to communicate clearly and logically. Many English learners feel like grammar is a hurdle because it's full of rules and exceptions. But in reality, once you understand the basic structures, you'll be able to form correct sentences and express yourself with much more confidence. It's all about building a solid understanding of sentence structure and verb tenses. Start by focusing on the essential grammar rules, like how to use subject-verb agreement, how to form questions, how to use articles, a, an, the, and how to construct sentences in different tenses. Once you understand these basic elements, you can build more complex sentences without worrying about whether you're saying it right. I recommend starting with simple sentence structures, and as you get comfortable, gradually move on to more advanced concepts like conditionals or passive voice. Practice daily by writing sentences, checking your work, and reviewing grammar explanations. As you do this, you'll begin to see patterns, and grammar will become second nature to you. Building vocabulary, the words you use to express yourself. Next, we have vocabulary. A solid vocabulary is the key to being able to speak more freely and confidently. Think about it. How can you express your thoughts clearly if you don't have the right words? Your vocabulary is the toolbox you use to share your ideas, feelings, and opinions. The more words you know, the easier it is to find the right ones in conversations. One common mistake many learners make is focusing only on memorizing difficult words or trying to sound impressive by using complex vocabulary. But that's not what effective communication is about. In fact, focusing on practical, everyday words will have a much greater impact on your fluency and confidence. Start by learning the most common words and phrases that you would use in daily conversations. Words related to greetings, common activities, feelings, and basic needs. Focus on using vocabulary that applies to your daily life. This could be words related to work, school, hobbies, or social situations. Don't worry about learning everything at once. Gradually add new words to your vocabulary and use them in sentences. Repetition is key. Try to incorporate new words into your conversations so they become a natural part of your language use. An excellent way to expand your vocabulary is to keep a vocabulary journal. Whenever you learn a new word, write it down, along with its meaning and an example sentence. Review your journal regularly, and over time, you'll build a vast and usable vocabulary. 4. Improving. Pronunciation. Making sure you're understood. The third and final pillar of your foundation is pronunciation. Pronunciation can be tricky because there are so many sounds in English that might not exist in your native language. But the good news is, improving your pronunciation doesn't mean you have to sound like a native speaker. It's more about being clear and understandable so others can easily follow what you're saying. Start by focusing on the sounds that are hardest for you. For example, if your language doesn't have the th sound, like in think or this, you might find it challenging to pronounce those words correctly. Practice these sounds until you feel more comfortable. You can do this by listening to native speakers, repeating after them, and paying attention to how their mouths move when they speak. Another important aspect of pronunciation is intonation, the rise and fall of your voice. English speakers often use intonation to emphasize certain words or phrases, and getting this right will make your speech sound more natural. You can practice by listening to audio clips or watching videos and imitating how the speaker emphasizes certain words. A great technique for improving pronunciation is shadowing. This involves listening to a native speaker and trying to speak exactly the same way, matching their speed, intonation, and rhythm. It may seem challenging at first, but with time, it will help you speak more fluidly and naturally. Putting it all together. Building your strong foundation. Now, you may be thinking, okay, I know I need to work on grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation, but how do I do this consistently? Well, the key is to create a daily routine that allows you to practice each of these areas regularly. Remember, consistency is what builds a solid foundation. Here's a simple daily plan to get you started. Spend 10-15 minutes reviewing grammar. Pick one grammar rule or structure to focus on each day. Write sentences using the structure and review examples. Learn 5-10 new vocabulary words each day. Write them down, practice using them in sentences, and review them regularly. Practice pronunciation for 10 minutes. Choose a specific sound or sentence. To focus on, listen to native speakers and repeat what you hear. Engage in listening and speaking practice. Listen to English podcasts, watch videos, or speak with a language partner. The more exposure you get, the more comfortable you'll become. By doing this daily, you'll see steady improvement. You'll feel more confident because your foundation in English will become stronger with each passing day. Conclusion. Why your foundation is the key to progress. To wrap things up, remember this. A strong foundation is essential for achieving fluency in English. Just like you wouldn't build a house without a strong base, You can't become a confident English speaker without mastering the basics. Work on your grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation every day, and you'll notice that you begin to speak more clearly, confidently, and naturally. The great thing is that the stronger your foundation becomes, the more you'll be able to handle more complex structures and vocabulary. You won't feel lost or frustrated when conversations get harder. Instead, you'll be ready to rise to the challenge, knowing that the groundwork is already in place. So, let's continue to build that strong foundation. With time, patience, and consistent practice, you'll be well on your way to speaking English confidently and fluently. This is Chapter 3 of Selina's journey. In the next chapter, we'll talk about how to overcome the fear of making mistakes, a common struggle that many learners face. Stay tuned as we continue to explore how you can become a more confident English speaker. Chapter 4: Embracing Small Progress with Vocabulary. Welcome to Chapter 4. In the previous chapter, we talked about building a solid foundation in English, focusing on the key elements: grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Now, let's dive into one of the most important building blocks of that foundation: vocabulary. When it comes to mastering a language, vocabulary is absolutely crucial. Think about it. Without the right words, how can you express your ideas clearly? Whether you're having a conversation, writing an essay, or even listening to someone, vocabulary plays a central role. But here's something important to remember. Vocabulary building is a process, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's about embracing small progress every day. Let's break it down and explore how you can make steady progress in expanding your vocabulary. The power of small steps in vocabulary building. When you first start learning English, it might seem like an overwhelming task to memorize thousands of words. Where do you even begin? The truth is, you don't have to learn everything at once. In fact, trying to do so can actually make the process feel frustrating and inefficient. The key to building your vocabulary is to focus on small, manageable steps. Instead of aiming to learn a huge list of words in one go, focus on learning a few words each day. The goal is to absorb and retain the vocabulary that you're actually going to use in real conversations. This way, you won't just memorize words for the sake of it. You'll build a practical vocabulary that helps you in everyday communication. Let me give you an example. Imagine you've learned 10 new words today. Instead of just repeating them over and over, try to use them in sentences throughout the day. Whether you're talking to a language partner or writing in your journal, The more you use the words, the better you'll remember them. And the best part is, this consistent small progress adds up quickly. Focus on high-frequency words. When expanding your vocabulary, it's important to prioritize high-frequency words, those that are commonly used in daily conversations, media, books, and other forms of communication. By learning these words first, you're investing in vocabulary that will be immediately useful to you. Start by focusing on basic everyday words, greetings, numbers, common verbs, adjectives, and nouns. These are words you'll use on a regular basis. Once you've mastered these, you can move on to more complex vocabulary. For example, start by learning words like greetings, hello, goodbye, how are you? Verbs: eat, go, do, make, speak. Adjectives: good, bad, happy, sad, big, small. Nouns: house, car, food, work, school, people. These words form the core of everyday communication, and they're the words you'll use the most when speaking or writing. The beauty of focusing on high-frequency words is that you'll start feeling more confident using them in different situations, even in the early stages of learning. Learn vocabulary in context. Now, learning vocabulary isn't just about memorizing words in isolation. It's about learning them in context, how and when they're used in real-life situations. This helps you understand the meaning behind the word, as well as its proper usage. Instead of simply memorizing a list, try to learn vocabulary through real-life examples. For instance, when you learn a new word like beautiful, don't just memorize its meaning. Try to use it in a sentence like, the sunset is beautiful, or she has a beautiful voice. By doing this, you're learning not only the word, but also how it fits naturally into conversations. You can also immerse yourself in English media like movies, podcasts, or books. Listening to how native speakers use words in different situations will help you understand nuances, like which words are formal or informal, or how the meaning can change depending on context. Use vocabulary that matches your interests. One of the most effective ways to learn vocabulary is to focus on topics that interest you. This way, the words you're learning are relevant to your life, and you'll be more motivated to use them. For example, if you love cooking, learn food-related vocabulary. If you're into sports, focus on vocabulary related to your favorite sport or team. The more connected you are to the words, the easier it will be to remember and use them. Not only will this help you retain the vocabulary, but it'll also make learning fun. For instance, If you're passionate about traveling, you could focus on vocabulary like destinations, beach, mountains, city, countryside, transportation, plane, bus, car, taxi, activities, sightseeing, hiking, swimming, exploring. By surrounding yourself with words related to your interests, you'll find that you naturally incorporate them into your daily conversations. And the best part is, you'll enjoy using them more. 5. Practice regularly and review often. Building vocabulary isn't just about learning new words, it's also about retaining them. Without regular review, the words you learn might slip away from your memory. The solution is simple. Practice regularly and review often. Try setting aside a few minutes each day to review the words you've learned. Repetition is key to remembering them. You can use flashcards, apps, or even a physical notebook to help reinforce what you've learned. ANI. Excellent technique to solidify your vocabulary is the spaced repetition method. This means reviewing words at increasing intervals, after a few hours, a day, a week, and so on. The more frequently you encounter a word, the more likely you are to retain it in your long-term memory. Additionally, don't be afraid to use new vocabulary in your daily life. Whether you're talking to friends, writing in a journal, or practicing with a language partner, make a conscious effort to incorporate the words you've learned. This practice helps reinforce the vocabulary and boosts your confidence in using it naturally. Celebrate small wins. As you progress in your vocabulary learning, remember that every small step is an achievement. Learning a few new words each day may not seem like much at first, but over time, it adds up to a substantial increase in your vocabulary. Celebrate the small wins. Whether you successfully used a new word in conversation, learned a difficult word, or mastered a particular group of vocabulary, take a moment to appreciate your progress. This positive reinforcement will motivate you to keep going. Remember, learning a language is not about perfection. It's about gradual improvement. Each day you spend learning and practicing English brings you one step closer to your goal. So don't focus on the words you haven't learned yet. Celebrate the words you've already mastered. Creating a sustainable vocabulary practice. Routine. Lastly, to ensure that you continue to make small progress with your vocabulary, you need to create a sustainable practice routine. This means finding a routine that works for your lifestyle and can be maintained over time. Here are some tips to build a vocabulary practice routine that sticks. Set a specific goal. Aim to learn 5 to 10 new words every day or week, depending on your schedule. Use multiple methods. Combine reading, writing, speaking, and listening to practice vocabulary. Mix it up. Use flashcards one day, write sentences the next, and then listen to podcasts the following day. Review regularly. Dedicate time each week to go over what you've learned so far. The more consistent you are, the more natural it will feel. Building a vocabulary practice routine is key to making continuous progress without burning out. Conclusion: small progress leads to big results. So, as you can see, building your vocabulary doesn't have to be overwhelming. By focusing on small, manageable steps, prioritizing high-frequency words, and using the vocabulary in real-life contexts, you can make steady progress every day. The more you embrace small progress, the more your vocabulary will expand, and the more confident you'll become when speaking English. Remember, it's not about memorizing thousands of words. It's about building a practical and useful vocabulary that helps you communicate effectively. So, keep practicing, review regularly, and celebrate every small achievement along the way. Over time, all those little steps will lead to big results. This is Chapter 4 of Selina's journey. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to overcome the fear of making mistakes, something that many learners struggle with but is essential for progress. Keep going, and let's continue this journey toward confident English speaking. Chapter 5: Overcoming Fear of Making Mistakes. Welcome to Chapter 5. Now that we've talked about building a strong foundation and expanding your vocabulary, it's time to address something that holds many learners back from progressing: the fear of making mistakes. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been in the middle of a conversation in English and suddenly thought, what if I make a mistake? What if I say the wrong word or pronounce it incorrectly? That moment of hesitation, the anxiety that creeps in, it's something most of us have felt. In fact, fear of making mistakes is one of the biggest obstacles to improving language skills. It's the thing that causes you to freeze up or shy away from speaking at all. But here's the good news. Mistakes are not your enemy. They're part of the process. In fact, learning to embrace mistakes and use them as stepping stones is one of the most important things you can do to improve your English. In this chapter, we're going to talk about how to reframe your view on mistakes, how to shift your mindset, and how to overcome the fear that holds you back. Reframing mistakes. Viewing them as learning opportunities. The first step in overcoming the fear of making mistakes is to reframe your perspective. Instead of seeing mistakes as something bad or embarrassing, Start viewing them as valuable learning opportunities. You see, every time you make a mistake, you get a chance to improve. Every error you make teaches you something new about the language, whether it's about vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, or sentence structure. It's like getting feedback from the language itself. So, instead of feeling ashamed or frustrated when you make a mistake, celebrate it. Think about it like this. Mistakes are the path to progress. If you never made mistakes, how would you know what to improve? If you never spoke or wrote incorrectly, how would you learn what the right way is? Mistakes help you grow. They provide the roadmap to becoming a better speaker. For example, let's say you're learning a new verb tense and you accidentally use the wrong form in a sentence. Instead of feeling embarrassed, ask yourself, what did I learn from that mistake? How can I use this experience to improve next time? The fact that you made the mistake means you're trying, and that's already a victory in itself. Focus on progress, not perfection. One of the most harmful things you can do in language learning is to strive for perfection. Perfectionism can paralyze you. You may find yourself getting caught in an endless cycle of overthinking every word you say, making you too afraid to speak at all. But here's the truth. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is. You don't need to speak English perfectly to be effective in communication. What's more important is your ability to express yourself and be understood. The more you practice, the more you will improve, and the less you will fear making mistakes. For instance, if you're nervous about making a mistake while ordering food in English, focus on what you're trying to communicate rather than getting everything exactly right. If you make a small mistake, it's okay. It won't ruin the conversation, and more importantly, you'll still be able to get your point across. Instead of saying, I need to speak perfectly, tell yourself, I'm making progress, and every time I speak, I improve. Shift your focus from perfection to growth, and as you do, you'll notice that the pressure to be flawless starts to fade away, and the fear of mistakes will begin to shrink. Practice self-compassion. Be kind to yourself. One thing that many learners struggle with is being too hard on themselves. When you make a mistake, it's easy to get frustrated or upset. You might think, I should have known that, or why did I mess that up? But this negative self-talk only adds to the fear and anxiety. Instead, try practicing self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would offer to a friend. If a friend were learning English and made a mistake, you'd probably say, "It's okay. You're learning, and you'll get it next time." So why not say the same thing to yourself? Whenever you make a mistake, Remind yourself that it's a normal part of the learning process. Everyone makes mistakes, native speakers included. Even if you've been learning English for years, you're still going to make mistakes, and that's perfectly okay. So the next time you mess up, instead of being critical, say something positive. Like, I tried, and that's what matters. I'll learn from this and keep improving. The more you practice self-compassion, the easier it will be to overcome your fear of making mistakes. 4. The role of positive self-talk. Your thoughts have a huge impact on your confidence. The way you talk to yourself can either build you up or bring you down. If you're constantly thinking, I can't do this, or I'm terrible at English, your fear of making mistakes will only grow stronger. But if you change the way you think about yourself and your abilities, you can reduce that fear. Start by changing your internal dialogue. Instead of focusing on what you can't do, shift your attention to what you can do. Instead of saying, I'm afraid of making mistakes, tell yourself, making mistakes is part of learning. I'm going to make mistakes, and that's okay. This shift in mindset will help you feel more at ease and less afraid of speaking. A simple but powerful technique is affirmations, positive statements that help reframe your mindset. You could say, I am improving every day. Mistakes are part of my learning journey. I am confident in my ability to learn and grow. These affirmations help reinforce your belief that mistakes don't define you. They're simply part of the process. The more you repeat these thoughts, the more they'll become a natural part of your thinking. Use mistakes as feedback to improve. Once you start accepting that mistakes are part of learning, it's time to shift the way you view them. Mistakes aren't failures, they're feedback. Every time you make an error, ask yourself, what can I learn from this mistake? How can I improve next time? Let's say you mispronounce a word. Instead of feeling embarrassed, take a moment to analyze what went wrong. Was it a particular sound you had trouble with? Did you place the stress on the wrong syllable? Once you've identified the issue, practice the correct pronunciation. The next time you say the word, you'll do it right. You can also keep a mistake journal. Write down the mistakes you make, along with what you learned from them and how you plan to improve. This journal will serve as a reminder that every mistake is a step forward in your language learning journey. Take risks and step out of your comfort zone. If you really want to overcome the fear of making mistakes, you need to take risks. Speak English, even when you're not sure if you're saying everything correctly. The more you put yourself in situations where you're forced to speak and make mistakes, the more you'll build resilience and confidence. Start small. Practice. speaking with a language partner, ordering food at a restaurant, or even talking to yourself in the mirror. Each time you take that small risk and speak, you'll realize that nothing terrible happens when you make a mistake. People will still understand you. You'll still be able to communicate. And with each new risk, you'll feel more confident in your ability to handle mistakes. Conclusion: mistakes are part of the journey. To sum it all up, mistakes are an essential part of learning. They're not something to fear, but something to embrace. The more you accept that mistakes will happen and that they're opportunities to improve, the less fear you will feel. Focus on progress, not perfection. Practice self-compassion and positive self-talk. Use mistakes as feedback and take risks. All of these steps will help you become more confident in your speaking skills and take your English to the next level. Remember, everyone makes mistakes. It's not about avoiding them. It's about learning from them. The more you practice and the more you speak, the more confident you'll become. And soon enough, you'll realize that mistakes are no longer something you fear, but something that helps you grow. This is Chapter 5 of Selina's journey. In the next chapter, we'll discuss effective speaking techniques that will help you practice and improve your English fluency every day. Keep pushing forward. You're doing great. Chapter 6: Practical Techniques for Speaking with Confidence. Welcome to Chapter 6. Now that we've talked about building a strong foundation, embracing small progress with vocabulary, and overcoming the fear of making mistakes, it's time to explore some practical techniques that will help you speak English with confidence. These techniques are the tools you can use to practice and improve your speaking skills in everyday situations. The journey to confident speaking isn't just about knowledge. It's also about practicing and developing habits that reinforce your ability to speak fluently and comfortably. In this chapter, we'll dive into some effective methods that you can start using right away to boost your confidence when speaking English. Mirror practice. Speak with yourself. Let's start with one of the simplest and most powerful techniques, mirror practice. This might sound a bit unusual, but trust me, it's incredibly effective. The idea behind mirror practice is to stand in front of a mirror and speak to yourself. You can do this by practicing dialogues, reading out loud, or even rehearsing presentations. Why? Does it work? Seeing yourself speak helps you become more aware of how you present yourself, your facial expressions, your body language, and how you sound. Many times we don't realize that our nervousness shows in our expressions, or that we're not speaking clearly enough. By using a mirror, you can observe yourself and make adjustments in real time. Start with short, simple sentences or phrases. For example, if you're practicing greetings, try looking at yourself and saying things like, "Hi, how are you?" "My name is Selina. What's your name?" "I'm feeling good today, thank you." As you get more comfortable, increase the complexity of your practice. Start simulating real conversations by practicing responses, and try expressing your thoughts on different topics. You'll notice that your speech becomes more fluid and natural the more you practice. Record yourself. Listen to your progress. Another powerful technique for building confidence is recording yourself. This might feel awkward at first, but it's one of the best ways to assess your pronunciation, fluency, and overall speaking abilities. We often don't notice the small errors or areas that need improvement while we're speaking, but when we listen to ourselves, we can catch them. Here's how you can do it. Pick a topic you want to practice speaking about, whether it's introducing yourself or discussing a current event. Record yourself speaking on that topic for about 1 to 2 minutes. Listen to the recording and take notes. What did you do well? Where can you improve? Did you struggle with pronunciation or fluency in certain areas? Record yourself again after reflecting on your previous attempt, and notice how your speech improves with each recording. This method not only helps you become more aware of your strengths and weaknesses, but also gives you a chance to track your progress over time. As you listen to older recordings, you'll be amazed at how much you've improved. It's a great way to see your growth and boost your confidence. Shadowing technique. Imitate native speakers. Another excellent technique is shadowing, which involves mimicking the speech of a native speaker. The goal is to listen to a native speaker, whether from a podcast, video, or movie, and repeat what they say immediately after they say it, trying to match their tone, rhythm, and pronunciation. Why is shadowing so effective? When you shadow a native speaker, you're not just practicing pronunciation, you're also training yourself to speak more naturally. You're learning the intonation and rhythm of the language, which are often the most challenging aspects for English learners. Shadowing helps you develop a more fluent and confident speaking style by allowing you to imitate how native speakers structure their sentences and express their thoughts. Here's how you can practice shadowing. Choose an audio or video with clear, natural speech, ideally one that matches your English level. Play a short segment and pause after each sentence or phrase. Repeat what you just heard out loud, trying to copy the speaker as accurately as possible. Focus on matching their intonation, speed, and pronunciation. If necessary, Slow down the audio to make it easier to follow, but gradually challenge yourself to match the normal speaking speed. This technique works wonders for boosting your fluency and confidence. You'll become more comfortable speaking naturally, and your ability to hold conversations will improve drastically. 4. Role-playing. Practice real-life scenarios. One of the best ways to improve your speaking confidence is to practice real-life scenarios. Role-playing exercises are an excellent way to simulate situations where you'll need to speak in English. By practicing common situations, like ordering food at a restaurant, introducing yourself, or having small talk, you'll feel more confident when those situations happen in real life. Here's how you can do role-playing. Identify common scenarios you may encounter, such as introducing yourself in a meeting, asking for directions, ordering food at a restaurant, discussing a book or movie with a friend. Write down a dialogue for that scenario and act it out. You can do this alone by imagining a conversation or with a friend or language partner. Take turns practicing both parts of the dialogue. For example, if you're ordering food, practice both the role of the customer and the server. Focus on fluency and try to speak without hesitation, even if you're not sure of every word. The great thing about role-playing is that it makes speaking more interactive and dynamic. It prepares you for real-world conversations and helps reduce anxiety because you've already practiced what to say. Engage in conversations. Speak with native speakers or language partners. While practicing alone is important, there's no substitute for real conversations. Speaking with native speakers or language partners gives you the opportunity to apply everything you've learned in a real-world context. It helps you build your confidence in situations where you don't know exactly what will happen next. You can find language exchange partners or native speakers through online platforms, language learning apps, or local language meetups. Don't be afraid to make mistakes during these conversations. That's exactly how you'll learn. The goal is to focus on communicating your ideas, not on being perfect. As you practice more, you'll get used to listening and responding naturally, and your confidence will grow. If you don't have access to native speakers, join online communities or groups where people practice English. This could be through social media, language forums, or even video games. Interacting with people in English, no matter the context, will build your confidence in using the language regularly. Focus on the message, not perfection. When speaking English, it's easy to get caught up in worrying about making mistakes, pronouncing words perfectly, or getting the grammar right. But the truth is, Most people care more about what you're saying than how perfectly you say it. So, instead of focusing on being flawless, focus on communicating the message. For example, let's say you're giving directions to someone, but you mix up a few words. Even if you make a mistake, the other person is still going to understand what you mean because the message comes through. As long as you can make yourself understood, that's what matters most. When you shift your focus from perfection to communication, you'll find that speaking becomes easier, more enjoyable, and far less stressful. Conclusion: confidence comes with consistent practice. Building speaking confidence isn't something that happens overnight. It takes time, patience, and consistent effort. The techniques we've discussed today, mirror practice, recording yourself, shadowing, role-playing, engaging in conversations, and focusing on the message, are all effective ways to improve your speaking and build your confidence. The more you practice, the more comfortable and confident you'll feel speaking English. Remember, mistakes are part of the process, and every opportunity to speak is a step forward. So, keep practicing, keep speaking, and embrace the journey of becoming a confident English speaker. This is Chapter 6 of Selina's journey. In the bind. Next chapter, we'll discuss how to gain real-world exposure to English and immerse yourself in environments where you can practice and grow. Stay tuned. Chapter 7: Real-World Practice with Native Speakers. Welcome to Chapter 7. Now that we've covered essential topics like building confidence, overcoming mistakes, strengthening your vocabulary, and practicing practical speaking techniques, it's time to discuss one of the most powerful ways to improve your English speaking skills: real-world practice with native speakers. You've learned all the theory, the techniques, and the strategies, but real fluency comes from using the language in real-life situations. There's nothing quite like engaging in authentic conversations with native speakers to help you put everything you've learned into practice and take your English skills to the next level. So, in this chapter, we're going to explore the best ways to practice speaking English with native speakers and how you can use these opportunities to build fluency, confidence, and understanding. Why practice with native speakers? Before we dive into the how, let's take a moment to understand why practicing with native speakers is so important for your language learning journey. When you speak with native speakers, you get exposure to the real language, the way people actually use English in everyday situations. This includes natural speech patterns. Native speakers don't speak in the perfectly structured sentences we often find in textbooks. They use colloquial phrases, slang, contractions, and informal speech patterns that you won't find in a textbook. By practicing with native speakers, you learn to understand and use these expressions naturally, helping you sound more fluent and authentic. Correct pronunciation and intonation. Hearing how native speakers pronounce words, stress certain syllables, and use intonation to convey meaning helps you improve your pronunciation. Intonation, the rise and fall of your voice, can completely change the meaning of a sentence. Native speakers use intonation and rhythm in ways that non-native learners often struggle to replicate. By interacting with them, you'll naturally improve your own speech. Cultural context. Language and culture are inseparable. When you engage in conversations with native speakers, you get a first-hand understanding of how the language is tied to cultural norms, expressions, and social cues. You'll pick up on things like humor, body language, and context, which will help you connect with others and avoid misunderstandings. In short, practicing with native speakers is one of the most efficient and enriching ways to truly master a language. It gives you the opportunity to apply what you've learned in a real-life context and see how language functions in the world outside the classroom. Where to find native speakers to practice with. Now you might be wondering, that sounds great, but how do I actually find native speakers to practice with? Don't worry, I've got you covered. There are plenty of ways to find native speakers to converse with, whether you live in an English-speaking country or not. Language. Exchange programs. Language exchange programs are a fantastic way to practice with native speakers. These programs connect people who want to learn each other's languages. You can find a native speaker of English who wants to learn your language, and you can practice speaking English while helping them with your language. Here are some popular platforms for language exchange. Tandem. This app connects learners with native speakers for voice and video chats. Hello Talk, a social app for language learners where you can chat with native speakers and get corrections in real time. Conversation Exchange, a platform where you can find language partners for text, voice, or video conversations. Speaky, another great language exchange app that helps you find people to practice with. These apps are a great starting point for finding language partners, and they allow you to practice flexibly with people from around the world. Online tutors and language learning platforms. If you're looking for structured conversation practice, there are many online platforms where you can connect with professional English tutors. These tutors are native speakers who specialize in teaching English, and they offer one-on-one lessons tailored to your needs. Here are some platforms to consider. italki, a platform where you can find native speakers to practice speaking with at various price points. Preply, another tutoring platform that allows you to choose from a wide range of native-speaking tutors based on your goals. Cambly offers real-time conversation practice with native speakers through video calls. These platforms usually charge for lessons, but the benefit is that you get personalized attention and feedback from experienced English teachers. Social media and online communities. There are tons of online communities where you can connect with native speakers informally. For example, Facebook groups. Search for groups dedicated to English learners. Many groups have native speakers who are happy to help with language practice. Reddit. Subreddits like R Language Exchange or R English Learning are great places to find native speakers who want to practice English with you. Discord servers. Many language learning. Discord servers have voice channels where you can practice speaking with native speakers and other learners. These platforms are free, and you can often find like-minded individuals who are happy to practice with you in an informal, relaxed setting. Meetups and language events. If you prefer face-to-face interactions, language meetups are a great option. Websites like meetup.com list local events where you can meet native English speakers and practice conversation. These meetups often take place in cafes, parks, or other public spaces, allowing you to practice in a comfortable, low-pressure environment. Many cities around the world host language cafes, where learners of different languages come together to practice their target languages in an informal setting. These events are often free or have a small participation fee. How to make the most of your conversations with native speakers. Now that you know where to find native speakers, it's important to make the most out of these practice opportunities. Here are some tips to ensure you're getting the most value from your conversations. Be open and ready to learn. One of the most important things to remember is that every conversation is a learning opportunity. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's how you improve. Native speakers will likely appreciate your effort to speak their language and will help you with corrections along the way. Ask for feedback. When speaking with native speakers, don't hesitate to ask for feedback. After a conversation, ask them if they noticed any mistakes in your pronunciation or grammar. You can also ask them how you could express your ideas more naturally. It's also helpful to ask them about common expressions or slang they use, as this will help you sound more authentic and connected to the culture. The more you learn about how native speakers naturally speak, the more confident you'll become in using those expressions in your own conversations. Set goals for each conversation. It's easy to get lost in a conversation and forget what you're working toward. To make sure you're progressing, set specific goals for each conversation. For example, focus on using new vocabulary you've learned. Practice a specific grammatical structure or tense. Work on improving your pronunciation of certain sounds or words. By setting goals, you'll have something to measure your progress and keep you motivated. Be patient and persistent. Real fluency takes time, and it's important to be patient with yourself. Some days, you'll feel like you're not making progress, but that's completely normal. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. The key is to stay persistent and keep practicing consistently. Remember, the more you speak, the more confident you'll become. So don't give up. How conversations with native speakers help you grow. Speaking with native speakers isn't just about improving your vocabulary or grammar. It's also about becoming comfortable with the language in its natural, everyday form. You'll notice that your listening and speaking skills improve much faster than when you're just studying grammar and vocabulary on your own. Increased fluency. The more you practice speaking with native speakers, the more naturally the words will come to you. You won't have to think as much about grammar and sentence structure. Instead, you'll focus on conveying your message. Cultural understanding. Conversations with native speakers give you insight into the culture behind the language. You'll understand cultural references, humor, and social cues that textbooks often miss. Confidence. Boost. There's no better way to build confidence than by practicing with someone who speaks the language fluently. The more you interact with native speakers, the more comfortable you'll feel using English in any situation. Conclusion: speak, learn, and grow. As we wrap up this chapter, I want you to remember this. Real-world practice with native speakers is one of the most effective ways to boost your confidence and improve your English. By putting yourself out there, engaging in conversations, and embracing the learning process, you'll make incredible progress on your journey toward fluency. So go ahead, find a language partner, join a language exchange program, or even seek out native speakers in your community. The more you practice, the more confident and fluent you'll become. Keep speaking, keep learning, and enjoy the process of becoming a confident English speaker. This is Chapter 7 of Selina's journey. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to gain real-world exposure through immersion techniques, helping you continue to grow your skills even outside of direct conversations. Stay tuned and keep practicing. Chapter 8: Building a Confident Mindset. Welcome to Chapter 8. By now, you've learned many practical techniques to improve your English speaking skills. Everything from building a solid foundation to practicing with native speakers. But there's one more crucial element that we need to focus on: your mindset. A confident mindset is the key to unlocking your full potential as an English speaker. It's not just about speaking well. It's about believing that you can speak well and that you are capable of mastering English. In this chapter, we'll dive into how to develop and nurture a confident mindset, which will help you overcome doubts, stay motivated, and push through challenges along the way. Why a confident mindset is crucial. Let's start by addressing an important truth. Your mindset shapes your reality. If you don't believe in your ability to speak English confidently, then you'll constantly be fighting against your own doubts. On the other hand, if you develop a mindset that says, "I can do this," you'll be more likely to take action, push through challenges, and achieve your goals. Think of it like this. Confidence is not just about what you do. It's about how you think about what you do. If you have a positive and growth-oriented mindset, you'll be able to view every mistake, every challenge, and every setback as a learning opportunity. With the right mindset, you won't be discouraged by mistakes. Instead, you'll embrace them as part of the journey toward fluency. In other words, confidence starts in your mind. If you believe that you can learn and improve, you will. And if you struggle with self-doubt, you might hold yourself back from speaking as much as you could. The first step to speaking confidently is believing that you have the power to succeed. Shifting from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. One of the most important aspects of building a confident mindset is understanding the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. A fixed mindset is when you believe your abilities are limited and you think things like, "I'm just not good at English," or "I'll never be fluent." People with a fixed mindset avoid challenges because they fear failure. They might avoid speaking because they think it will expose their weaknesses, and this fear prevents them from improving. On the other hand, a growth mindset is when you believe that your abilities can improve over time with effort and practice. When you have a growth mindset, you embrace challenges, learn from feedback, and understand that mistakes are part of the process. People with a growth mindset don't give up when they face difficulties. Instead, they use them as stepping stones to reach their goals. To develop a confident mindset, shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Here are some ways to do that. Embrace challenges. Instead of avoiding speaking because you're afraid to make mistakes, See it as an opportunity to learn. Learn from feedback. When someone corrects you or gives you advice, view it as helpful. Feedback rather than criticism. It's a way to improve. Celebrate effort, not just success. Don't just focus on getting things perfect. Celebrate the effort you're putting into learning, because that's what will eventually lead to improvement. Be patient with yourself. Understand that learning takes time. Don't rush the process. Enjoy the journey. Visualizing success. The power of positive thinking. One of the most effective ways to build a confident mindset is through visualization. Visualization is a technique where you imagine yourself achieving your goals, seeing yourself succeeding, feeling the emotions of success, and mentally rehearsing your desired outcomes. Here's how you can use visualization to build confidence. In your English speaking, find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Close your eyes and imagine yourself in a real-life situation where you need to speak English. Picture yourself introducing yourself, having a conversation, or giving a presentation. See yourself speaking confidently. Use the words, phrases, and vocabulary you've learned. Picture yourself feeling relaxed, clear, and in control. Imagine the positive reactions from the people you're speaking with. Picture them nodding, smiling, and engaging in the conversation. Visualize the success of your communication. Repeat this visualization regularly to strengthen your belief in yourself. Visualization is incredibly powerful because it helps you create a mental image of success, which in turn boosts your confidence. By regularly visualizing yourself speaking English confidently, you're training your brain to believe that this is possible, and the more you believe it, the more likely it will become your reality. 4. Practicing self-affirmations. Positive self-talk. Another powerful tool for building a confident mindset is self-affirmations. This is the practice of repeating positive statements about yourself to help reprogram your mind and shift your focus toward the positive. Many language learners struggle with self-doubt and negative thinking. They might say things like, "I'm terrible at speaking English," or "I'll never sound like a native speaker." But these negative thoughts only make you feel worse about yourself and hinder your progress. Instead, use self-affirmations to counteract those negative thoughts. For example, "I am a confident English speaker, and I improve every day. I embrace challenges and learn from my mistakes. Every time I speak English, I get closer to my goal. I am capable of achieving fluency in English." Start each day by saying these affirmations aloud, and say them whenever you feel nervous about speaking. Positive self-talk will help you build resilience and remind you that you are capable of improving, no matter how difficult things may seem at times. Over time, these affirmations will become ingrained in your mindset, and you'll begin to believe in your ability to speak confidently. Managing anxiety and nervousness. Even with the best mindset, it's natural to feel nervous when speaking in a new language. Anxiety can creep in when you're worried about making mistakes, not understanding someone, or being judged. But learning how to manage your anxiety is a crucial part of building a confident mindset. Here are a few techniques to help you manage anxiety when speaking English. Breathing exercises. Deep breathing can help calm your nerves and keep you focused. Try this. Inhale deeply for 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and exhale for 4 seconds. Repeat this a few times before speaking, and you'll feel more relaxed. Preparation. If you know you're going to have a conversation or presentation, take a few minutes to prepare. Review key phrases, vocabulary, and topics that might come up. Shift your focus. Instead of focusing on your nerves, focus on the conversation itself. Concentrate on what the other person is saying and how you can respond to them, rather than worrying about how you sound. Embrace mistakes. Remind yourself that mistakes are normal and part of the learning process. No one expects you to be perfect. What matters is that you're making the effort to speak. With time and practice, you'll learn to manage anxiety more effectively, and speaking English will become less stressful. Celebrate your successes, no matter how small. Finally, one of the most important aspects of building a confident mindset is celebrating your progress. Too often, we focus on what we haven't achieved yet, instead of appreciating how far we've come. Celebrating small wins can significantly boost your confidence and motivation. Here's how you can celebrate your successes. Acknowledge progress. Take a moment to recognize when you've achieved something, whether it's speaking in a conversation for 10 minutes without hesitation, or successfully using a new word. Reward yourself. Give yourself a little treat or do something you enjoy to mark your achievement. This will reinforce your positive behavior and keep you motivated. Reflect on your growth. At the end of each week, take some time to reflect on what you've accomplished. Look back at how much you've learned, how many conversations you've had, and how much more confident you've become. By celebrating your achievements, no matter how small, you'll develop a positive feedback loop that encourages you to keep going and keep improving. Conclusion: your confident mindset is key to success. To wrap up, remember this: Your mindset has a profound impact on your ability to succeed in English. By shifting to a growth mindset, using visualization, practicing self-affirmations, managing anxiety, and celebrating your progress, you'll build the confidence you need to speak English naturally and fluently. Building a confident mindset is not a one-time task. It's an ongoing process. But with each step, you'll find that speaking English becomes easier, more enjoyable, and far less intimidating. In the next chapter, we'll talk about tracking your progress and how to stay motivated in the long term as you continue to grow as a confident English speaker. This is Chapter 8 of Selina's journey. Remember, confidence starts with believing in yourself. Keep practicing, keep embracing challenges, and keep building that powerful mindset. Chapter 9: Tracking Progress and Self-Improvement. Welcome to Chapter 9. By now, we've covered essential topics like building a confident mindset, overcoming mistakes, and practicing with native speakers. But there's one critical component of language learning that we often overlook: tracking your progress and focusing on self-improvement. Language learning isn't a linear path. It's a journey full of ups and downs, challenges, and breakthroughs. As you work towards fluency, it's easy to lose track of how far you've come, especially if progress feels slow or if you're struggling with a particular aspect of the language. But keeping track of your progress can be incredibly motivating and can help you stay focused on your goals. In this chapter, we'll dive into why tracking your progress is important, how you can effectively track it, and how to use that information to continue improving. Let's explore how you can turn tracking into a powerful tool for growth and self-improvement. Why tracking progress is important. First, let's talk about why tracking your progress is so crucial. The process of learning a language is often long and challenging. Sometimes it can feel like you're not improving, especially when you're focusing on the things that still need work. This is where tracking comes in. When you track your progress, you get to see how much you've achieved, even on the days when it feels like nothing is changing. Seeing the results of your hard work is incredibly motivating. It reminds you of the steps you've already taken and the progress you've made. Additionally, tracking allows you to identify areas of strength and weakness. By reviewing your progress regularly, you can pinpoint what you're doing well and where you still need improvement. This helps you focus on the areas that need the most attention. Celebrate your achievements. It's easy to overlook small wins, like using a new word correctly or completing a conversation without hesitation. When you track your progress, you get to celebrate every step forward. Stay motivated. When you can see how far you've come, it gives you the motivation to keep going. It's a reminder that your efforts are paying off and that success is within reach. Set new goals. Tracking your progress allows you to set realistic goals based on where you are in your learning journey. It helps you break down larger goals into smaller, achievable steps. How to track your progress effectively. Now that we know why tracking is important, let's talk about how you can do it effectively. There are many ways to track your progress, and the method you choose will depend on what works best for you. Here are some of the most effective ways to track your English learning progress. A. Keep a language journal. One of the simplest and most effective ways to track your progress is by keeping a language journal. A journal allows you to reflect on your daily or weekly learning, document your achievements, and note down any areas where you need improvement. Here's how you can use a language journal. Write about your practice sessions. After each study session, jot down what you worked on, what you learned, and any challenges you faced. Track your vocabulary. Keep a section of your journal dedicated to new words you've learned. Write down the word, its meaning, and a sentence using it. Review this section regularly to reinforce your learning. Reflect on speaking practice. If you had a conversation or practice session, write about how it went. Did you feel confident? Were there any words or phrases you struggled with? This reflection helps you identify areas that need attention. Set goals. At the start of each week or month, write down specific goals you want to achieve, such as mastering a new grammatical structure or using 10 new vocabulary words in conversation. B. Record yourself regularly. Recording yourself speaking is an excellent way to track progress, especially when it comes to pronunciation and fluency. When you listen to your recordings over time, you can hear how much you've improved, both in terms of accuracy and confidence. Here's how you can incorporate recording into your learning. Record yourself speaking every week. Choose a topic, speak about it for 1 to 2 minutes, and record yourself. Compare your recordings every month to hear the difference in your speaking skills. Focus on specific areas. If you're working on pronunciation, record yourself saying words or sentences with challenging sounds. Listen back to see if your pronunciation has improved over time. Track your fluency. Notice if you're able to speak more smoothly without hesitating as much or searching for words. Recordings will help you identify these improvements and show you how far you've come. C. Use language learning apps. Many language learning apps offer built-in progress tracking features that allow you to track your vocabulary, grammar, and speaking skills. Apps like Duolingo, Memrise, and Anki have systems in place to monitor how well you're doing and what areas you still need to work on. Here's how to use apps for tracking. Set goals within the app and monitor your progress towards them. Track your streaks. Many apps will reward you for completing lessons each day. Seeing your streak grow is a great visual reminder of your consistency. Review your mistakes. Apps often allow you to review words or concepts that you've gotten wrong. This helps you identify areas for improvement and continue learning. D. Take regular assessments. Testing yourself periodically is an effective way to measure your progress. There are many free online English tests and quizzes that you can take to evaluate your skills in areas like vocabulary, grammar, and listening comprehension. Here's how to integrate assessments into your learning. Take a test every few months. Choose a standardized test or a set of practice exams. Compare your results each time to see how much you've improved. Track your scores. Note your scores and the areas you scored lower on. This will show you where you need to focus your efforts. Moving forward, monitor your fluency. You could also do mock conversations with a language partner and ask them for feedback on your fluency, vocabulary use, and overall communication. How to use your progress for continued improvement. Now that you have various methods for tracking your progress, it's important to understand how to use this information to continue improving. Here's how to take what you've learned from tracking and apply it to your learning process. A. Set SMART goals. When you track your progress, you'll gain insight into your strengths and weaknesses. This allows you to set SMART goals, goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. For example, instead of just saying, "I want to improve my speaking," you might set a goal like, "I will practice speaking English for 15 minutes every day for the next 2 weeks." This goal is clear, measurable, and time-bound. By setting SMART goals, you can break down your larger learning objectives into smaller, more manageable tasks that you can achieve step by step. B. Adjust your learning plan. As you track your progress, you'll notice areas where you excel and areas where you need more focus. Use this information to adjust your learning plan accordingly. If you're making great progress with vocabulary but struggling with pronunciation, for example, you might decide to spend more time on pronunciation exercises and less time on memorizing new words. Regular reflection on your progress allows you to fine-tune your approach and tailor your study routine to fit your needs. C. Celebrate milestones. It's important to celebrate your achievements, big and small. When you see improvements in your speaking, pronunciation, vocabulary, or grammar, take time to acknowledge how far you've come. Celebrate when you've reached a goal or mastered a new skill. Celebrating milestones will help keep you motivated and remind you that progress is happening, even if it feels slow at times. D. Stay consistent and keep learning. Tracking progress helps you understand how much you've improved, but it's also a reminder that language learning is a continuous process. There will always be new vocabulary to learn, new grammar rules to master, and new conversations to have. Consistency is key. Commit to ongoing learning. Whether it's through daily practice, weekly assessments, or simply engaging in conversations. With native speakers, make sure to keep practicing consistently. With time, your improvements will become even more significant. Overcoming plateaus. How to keep moving forward. At some point, you might encounter a plateau, a period where you feel like your progress has slowed down and you're not improving as quickly as you were before. This is completely normal, and it happens to everyone. The key to moving past a plateau is adjusting your approach and continuing to push forward. Change your routine. If you've been doing the same thing for a while, try mixing things up. Add new activities to your learning, such as watching movies. In English, reading books, or writing essays. Focus on weak areas. If you notice certain aspects of English are holding you back, focus your energy on those areas until you see improvement. Stay patient. Plateaus are a natural part of the learning process. Trust that with persistence you'll break through and continue improving. Conclusion: your path to continuous improvement. To wrap things up, remember that tracking your progress is a powerful tool for self-improvement. By reflecting on your growth, setting realistic goals, and adjusting your approach as needed, you'll continue to improve your English speaking skills and stay motivated along the way. Your journey toward fluency isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Celebrate every step of the way, stay focused on your goals, and remember that improvement is a process. Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep tracking your progress, and you'll reach your goal of becoming a confident English speaker. This is Chapter 9 of Selina's journey. In the next chapter, we'll discuss how to stay motivated and keep making progress in the long term. Keep up the great work. You're on the right path. Chapter 10: The Ongoing Journey to Fluent English. Welcome to Chapter 10. The final chapter of our journey together. We've covered so much ground already: building confidence, overcoming mistakes, tracking progress, and much more. But the truth is, language learning is an ongoing journey. There is no final destination. The road to fluency is long, but each step forward takes you closer to your goal. In this chapter, we're going to talk about the long-term journey of learning English, why it's important to keep going, and how to stay motivated through the ups and downs. Becoming fluent in English isn't something that happens overnight. It takes time, persistence, and consistent effort. But don't worry, by the end of this chapter, you'll have the tools and mindset to continue this journey with confidence and excitement. Understanding that fluency is a journey, not a destination. One of the biggest misconceptions about learning a language is that fluency is a final, fixed point. Many learners think, once I reach fluency, I'll be done. I'll be perfect in English, and I'll never need to study again. But that's not how language learning works. Fluency is not a destination. It's an ongoing process. Even native speakers continue to learn their own language throughout their lives. They discover new words, refine their pronunciation, and continue to adapt to the ever-changing world around them. This means that fluency is about continuous improvement. It's about embracing the journey and understanding that there will always be new things to learn and new challenges to face. Even when you reach a high level of proficiency, there will always be room to improve. Whether it's through expanding your vocabulary, mastering advanced grammar, or engaging in more complex conversations. So, instead of thinking about fluency as a goal to be achieved, think of it as a process that continues throughout your life. Every day, every conversation, and every mistake you make helps you move closer to a deeper, richer level of fluency. Embracing lifelong learning. Never stop growing. When it comes to language learning, the key to fluency is a lifelong commitment to growth. You might feel like there are days when you're not improving, but remember, consistency is the key. Small, consistent efforts over time lead to massive improvements. Fluency doesn't come from studying intensively for a short period. It comes from making English a part of your everyday life and continuing to challenge yourself as you grow. So, how can you continue growing on this journey? Set new goals. As you reach certain milestones in your English learning, set new, more advanced goals. If you've mastered basic vocabulary, aim to learn more specialized vocabulary. If you're comfortable in conversations, challenge yourself to have discussions on more complex topics like current events or abstract concepts. Keep practicing. Continue speaking with native speakers, practicing pronunciation, and exposing yourself to English through movies, books, podcasts, and news. Regular practice is essential for maintaining fluency. Push your boundaries. Once you reach a certain level, it's tempting to stay comfortable and stick to the language you already know. But real growth happens when you challenge yourself. Step outside of your comfort zone. Speak about difficult topics, learn unfamiliar idioms, or practice advanced grammar structures. Remember, fluency isn't just about what you already know. It's about pushing yourself to learn more, expand your understanding, and improve your skills over time. 3. The importance of immersion. Surround yourself with English. Immersion is one of the most powerful tools for achieving fluency. Being surrounded by the language as much as possible accelerates your learning and helps you naturally absorb the language. It's like learning to swim by jumping into the water rather than reading about it. Here's how you can immerse yourself in English, even if you don't live in an English-speaking country. Engage with English media. Listen to English podcasts, watch movies and TV shows in English, read English books or articles, and follow English-speaking social media accounts. The more you surround yourself with English, the more you'll get used to the rhythm, pronunciation, and natural expressions of the language. Join English-speaking communities. Participate in online communities or local events where English is spoken. You can join forums, groups, or meetups focused on topics you enjoy, whether it's language learning, hobbies, or professional interests. Being in an environment where English is the primary language forces you to use it more naturally. Change your devices to English. This small but effective change will allow you to see English in your daily life, whether you're reading messages, checking notifications, or browsing the internet. It helps you stay connected to the language on a subconscious level. Engage in real-life practice. Continue seeking opportunities to speak English with others, whether it's traveling to an English-speaking country or finding a local group of language learners. Real-life practice in real-world situations is invaluable for improving fluency. The more you surround yourself with English, the easier it will become to think in English and use it naturally in your day-to-day life. Overcoming plateaus. What to do when you feel stuck. There will be times during your journey when you hit a plateau, a stage where it feels like you're not making progress, no matter how hard you try. This is normal and happens to everyone. Language learning isn't always linear. There will be times of rapid progress and times when it feels like you're stuck in the same place. When you reach a plateau, it's important to push through. Keep practicing even when it feels like you're not improving. Sometimes, progress happens in ways we can't immediately see. By continuing to practice and expose yourself to English, you are still growing, even if it doesn't feel that way at the moment. Try something new. If you're feeling stuck, try changing your routine or focusing on a different aspect of language learning. For example, if you've been practicing speaking a lot, try reading more in English or focusing on improving your writing. Changing up your approach can give you a fresh perspective and help you overcome the plateau. Be patient with yourself. Remember, language learning is a journey, and it's okay to experience setbacks. The most important thing is to keep going, and to remember that fluency is a long-term goal. Trust the process and continue your efforts. Staying motivated. How to keep going. One of the hardest parts of any long-term goal is staying motivated. After the initial excitement of starting to learn, you may encounter days where you feel discouraged or frustrated. But don't worry, motivation is something you can nurture. Here are a few ways to stay motivated on your journey. Celebrate your progress. Look back at how far you've come since you started. Celebrate your small wins, whether it's mastering a new grammatical concept or having a successful conversation in English. Find a study buddy. Find a friend or language partner who is also learning English, and hold each other accountable. Learning with someone else makes the process more enjoyable and keeps you motivated. Connect your learning to your passions. Whether it's watching movies, listening to music, reading books, or traveling, make sure you connect your English learning to things you love. The more fun and meaningful your practice is, the easier it will be to stay motivated. Remind yourself of your why. Why did you start learning English in the first place? Whether it's for personal growth, career advancement, or travel, keeping your goals in mind will help you stay focused and motivated. 6. The reward of fluency, what you gain from the journey. Finally, let's talk about the reward of becoming fluent in English. Yes, it's a long and challenging journey, but the payoff is worth it. Fluency in English opens up endless opportunities, personally, professionally, and socially. Personal growth. Learning a language not only improves your communication skills, but also enhances your problem-solving abilities, creativity, and cognitive flexibility. You'll become more open-minded, adaptable, and confident as you master a new way of thinking and expressing yourself. Career opportunities. English is often considered the global business language. Fluency opens up career opportunities, especially in international companies or industries where English is the primary language of communication. Cultural connection. Speaking English fluently allows you to connect with people from all over the world, enjoy English media without translations, and understand different perspectives and cultures. It's a gateway to experiencing the world in a deeper way. Conclusion. Keep going and embrace the journey. As we wrap up this chapter, remember that fluency in English is not a final destination. It's an ongoing journey. Embrace each step forward. Celebrate your progress and continue to push yourself to learn and grow. Even when the journey feels challenging or slow, trust that every effort you put in is bringing you closer to your goal. Keep practicing, keep learning, and keep exploring the world of English. Fluency is not an end. It's a continuous journey that will enrich your life in ways you can't yet imagine. So, stay committed, stay motivated, and most importantly, enjoy the ride. This is Chapter 10 of Selina's journey. Remember, the journey to fluent English never truly ends. But it's the growth and improvement along the way that makes it so rewarding. Keep going and embrace the adventure of learning. Great work today. Every moment you spend practicing brings you closer to mastering your English listening and speaking skills. Remember, progress comes with patience and consistency. If this story inspired you or helped you in your learning journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Easy English Spark channel for more lessons and stories. Keep listening, keep speaking, and keep believing in your growth. I'll see you in the next video. Take care and keep shining.